is Rachel with the Book Mavens, and today I have a review for you. I think I have a total of 5 books to talk about with you since the last time I did a review video. The first ones I want to talk to you about is A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I am really late on the game with this series, this Brigid Kemmerer series. Now, I really enjoyed Defy the Night and Defend the Dawn, and I'm very much looking forward to the conclusion of that trilogy. But I hadn't read these ones yet, so I have not finished it. I haven't finished reading the 3rd book, but I read this one and the 2nd one, A Heart So Fierce and Broken. I'm trying to stick it out because I do kind of want to know how this is going to end, but I'm not in any major rush to finish it. So just kind of a little background about these books. They're touted as being kind of Beauty and the Beast retellings, at least the first novel is. And we have a cursed prince who is kind of cursed by an enchantress in this kingdom to kind of repeat fall, I guess. I think it's fall, the season, over and over and over again with a new girl until he gets one to fall in love with him. And at the end of the season, if he doesn't succeed with this task, he gets turned into a beast and hunts down people. Like, he's killed his sorry, it's not funny. But like murdering his family. You learn all about this stuff very, very early on. I don't feel like these are major spoilers, but it's very it's not very good. I don't know what else to say about it. Anyway, so his kind of guardsman is granted the ability to move between worlds. So it moves between this fictional place and our world, specifically Washington, D.C. And so the guardsman goes to capture a girl. Meanwhile, there's another girl who witnesses this and is trying to come to the aid of this girl that he's carrying unconscious somewhere. Can you imagine? And in their scuffle, he ends up transporting this girl back to this kingdom. And so I do like that it has some representation. She has cerebral palsy. So it's nice to see somebody who's not perfect. But she's very feisty, and their relationship's very interesting. I just don't... I struggle with it because, like, Ren, who is our prince, he's just not it. He's just not it. But the guardsman is, and I honestly think that our main female character has far more chemistry with the guardsman than she does with the prince. I would have rather had seen that pairing, to be honest. Our author plays with this idea of a love triangle, but doesn't really hit it home. And I'm not a big fan of love triangles anyway, but Ren just kind of sucks. I don't really like him. And then in the 2nd book, we find out more about what the situation is with these 2 men. Not like it's anything nefarious, but there's a deeper connection. And in the 2nd book, it's really, we see some things come to a head that are stupid. And like, honestly, I think that our female main character in the 2nd book is perfect for Ren. I feel like there's a big mismatch with our love interests, since there's 2 couples that we're talking about here. I just didn't feel it. I felt that there was a missed opportunity that could have been stronger, written a different way. I do think that her Defy the Night series is far stronger. But if you have another opinion of A Curse So Dark and Lonely, I would love to see it in the comments. Let me know. Am I missing something? I just wasn't vibing with this at all. And I have started the 3rd one just to kind of see where she's going with it, I guess. They're fairly fast reads, but I was really disappointed by this. Now, A book that I loved, on the other hand, was Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This was awesome. So this is the Fairy Loot Adult January pick, I think it was, with the pretty edges. This is the UK cover. The US version looks a little different. This was charming. So you've heard Amanda and I talk about Half a Soul in terms of the banter with our main characters. This has that. So if you love banter between your two main characters, it's great. Now, nothing is really said specifically about our female main character in terms of having any kind of like, trying to think of like the right word. Just she seems like she's on the spectrum somewhere. She thinks in a very literal way, very kind of emotionless, and really kind of is so hyper fixated on what she's doing. Really speaks to somebody, to me, that's atypical. But it's not highlighted as much. Like, I don't say highlighted, it's just not talked about that way. But that's the vibe I get. And I really enjoyed the interactions between our two main characters. I love the setting. They're in like this isolated island, kind of like a Norwegian kind of vibe, Sweden. I don't know. It's fictional. So the island is anyway. But she's a scholar who studies Fae, and she's like a leading researcher, and she has this kind of frenemy with this guy who she suspects could be Fae. That's very interesting. And he ends up kind of trailing her to this new location where she's hoping to get kind of like the last big story to be able to publish her book. And he decides to come along for the ride because he needs something from her. And their banter is just hysterical, and it was well worth it. And this is going to be a series. So I'm excited to read the next one. I want to see, jacket's all stuck, where the story is going to go, because it was really, really enjoyable. So like I said, if you really liked Half a Soul, if you took Amanda and I seriously, I hope you did, about picking that book up, please, please, please pick this one up, because this is just as charming. Really interesting world. The Fae depicted in this book remind me, not like Sarah J. Maas. Okay, we're not talking about fairies like that, but we're talking about, or not Fae, all right? We're talking more like Holly Black. If you ever read like Holly Black's like early stuff, where, see, I haven't read The Cruel Prince yet. That's on my list though for this month to read with Amanda. But this kind of emotionally distant, very, very different vibe. They don't really come across as human as some other stories with Fae. They're far more alien, I think, even though they can look quite humanoid. But their emotions, it reminds me as well a lot of Half a Soul. I feel like there's a lot of similarities with the personalities of the Fae in that one, with this. And I'm very, very different than the, I guess, the more romantic-y Fae that we get with some other stories, like from Sarah J. Maas. But I do recommend this one. This is definitely a 5-star read. It's quick. It's very, very charming. I really enjoyed this one. I do recommend this one. And then, let's see. And then I read River of Shadows. Now this book, this is by Karina Hall. This is supposed to be kind of a Hades and Persephone, God of the Dead thing going on. I think like heavily inspired by like, is it like Finnish mythology? It's very terrible. I can't even pull my punches with this book. This book was bad. There is a sequel. I could care less what happens to these main characters. There's no connection. And this is supposed to be romance. This is supposed to be kind of, I guess, the author doesn't classify this as dark romance. I mean, there's some spice in here, but it's like, there's no connection. There's no connection between our main characters at all. I don't even like our main characters all that much. I don't really get a sense of who they are. Our female main character, she's traveling this kind of isolated area. Her father had owned like this kind of like nature spa kind of thing, and he has died. She's told that he's dead. So she ends up getting tricked into traveling to the underworld to try and reclaim her father. And there's not enough connection between her and her father to explain the very drastic things that she does to save him. And just the world that she's in, it's just not explained well. And the god of death makes no sense. So all I'm saying is, if any of you guys have read this, and honestly, I don't even know if the sequel's out. I'm very detached from this one. I don't recommend this. And I was really looking forward to this, and some of my groups, I need to start paying attention more to who's commenting in the books and what kind of books they like. This wasn't it. There was no plot. There's no plot to this book. And it's like, and even like the spice wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. This is not a winner, guys. Now, if you've read it and you have a different opinion, please share that with me, but I do not recommend this. This was not, no. And it's an indie author, I believe. And I didn't like it. Now, I'm kind of flipping between the things I like and didn't like. So I read The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. So this completes the Nightborn duet. All right, so the first one was The Serpent and the Wings of Night, which I've done a review on. I really liked it. With Carissa Broadbent, I had talked about her Daughter of Lost Worlds trilogy, that I didn't really love it. I felt like it started very, very strong with the first book and then just petered out. I did not feel that way about this duology. I thought was very good. I was attached to the characters. I cared about what was going to happen to them. I cared about their story. So it's kind of continuing where the first book leaves off, and you have our two main characters who kind of are forced to marry each other. And she has a tremendous amount of trauma to get past and resentment to him, or against our other lead character, for some supposed wrongs he has done. And so they are kind of back to being enemies to lovers. But what I appreciate about this set of books compared to the Lost World ones is that she took her time developing emotional connections and giving time. She really spent time to allow them to process their new statuses and to get to learn each other again after the trauma from the first book. And it's very well paced that way. Now, I did read some criticisms about this, that people didn't like how it slowed down, but I liked it. And I don't know if I would say that kind of pacing for every book that I would be happy about, but the way that she wrote it for this one, I was willing to give it time, because the type of trauma that our main character, Aurea, I think is how you pronounce her name, is experiencing with her father, and the revelations that happened at the end of the first book, I felt were very relatable. That these are not problems that can be like sexed away, or where you just kind of like forget it. It takes her a long time, and you see it slowly just start to kind of break away from her as she makes steps in her healing journey. And I thought that was done well, because that is something that would take time. So slowing it down to where we get a lot of introspection from our main character, I found was necessary for the type of trauma this character undergoes. And I was here for it. I'm glad that this was a duet. I think there are 6 books planned for the Crowns of Nyaxia, I guess is how you pronounce that. I think there are 6. Now there is a novella that's between the first book and this book called 6 Scorched Roses. I haven't read that. Now I did meet that couple in this one. I will go back and read it. If you don't catch it, I don't really think that there are too many Easter eggs. It's just their relationship. So you see them together in this one. So I'm assuming it's just their journey to each other, and I will read it. I'm very interested to see that story, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary to read it before you read this one, just because it's so focused on our 2 main characters. There's a lot of political plot in this. So I wouldn't say that it's definitely a romance, but it's very well balanced with a very strong, complex political plot. So I appreciate that. And I actually just finished it this morning, and I really liked it. I have to say, I will go back. I would probably reread these. I do recommend them. I think that they're good in terms of like indie published work. She's hitting the top of that pile. You guys have heard me talk about it. I've been trying to really understand indie published works. Some are good. This is good. This is a solid set of books. I would give them like a 4. But they're not, these ones have more polish, I think, than her trilogy, her completed trilogy. But other ones like River of Shadows, independent work, trash, garbage. Did not like that book. I didn't like anything about that book. And so like it's very hit or miss. And I hate to say that because I don't want to display any kind of like prejudice towards independent authors. There's some really good ones. But it definitely feels like you go to more extremes than just like kind of hitting a middle of the road book that you might get with like a traditionally published author. It's just kind of an interesting thing. I just think about it sometimes. Random thoughts with Rachel. But anyway, these are the 4 books that I wanted to share with you guys today. I will be reading The Bone Shard Emperor. Yes, I think that's the second one. I read Bone Shard Daughter. I do recommend that one. I don't have it. I didn't want to do a full review. I'd like to be able to finish them. I know the last book has released, I think. So I look forward to completing that trilogy. And I do recommend The Bone Shard Daughter. And I will do another review at another time to delve into that one. But anyway, if you have read these books or you're thinking to check them out, please drop us some comments. And I look forward